Sleep, a naturally recurring state of mind and body that forms around 1/3 of a human life. Until the 1950s, most people thought of sleep as a passive, dormant part of our daily life. Fast forward 70 years, we now know that our brains are very active during sleep. It affects our daily functioning, physical, and mental health in many ways that we are just beginning to understand. In this video, we're going to talk about the science of sleep. But first, what is sleep? Sleep is a state where awareness to environmental stimuli is reduced. Sleep is different from states of coma, hibernation, and death by the fact that it can be rapidly reversed. During sleep, we usually pass through 5 phases, and these phases progress in a cycle from the start to the end. And these are called the stages of sleep. Stage 1. Light sleep. We drift in and out of sleep and can be awoken easily. Our eyes move very slowly and muscle activity slows. People awaken from stage 1 sleep often remember fragmented visual images. Many also experience sudden muscle contractions called hypnic myoclonia or hypnic jerks, often preceded by a sensation of starting to fall. These sudden movements are similar to the jump we make when we are startled. Some people experience a sleep disorder known as periodic limb movement of sleep, PLMS, where they experience recurring leg movement. When we enter stage 2 sleep, our eye movements stop and our brain wave fluctuates. It becomes slower, with occasional bursts of rapid wave called sleep spindles. In stage 3, extremely slow brain wave called delta wave begins to appear, interspersed with smaller, faster wave. By stage 4, the brain produces delta wave almost exclusively. It is very difficult to wake someone up during stage 3 and 4, which together are called deep sleep. There is no eye movement or muscle activity. People awaken during deep sleep do not adjust immediately and often feel groggy and disoriented for several minutes after they wake up. Some children experience bedwetting, night terrors, or sleepwalking during deep sleep. And lastly, we have the rapid eye movement sleep, or REM. When we switch into REM sleep, our breathing becomes more rapid, irregular, shallow. Our eyes jerk rapidly in various directions. Our limb muscles become temporarily paralyzed during sleep. Our heart rate increases. Our blood pressure rises. Males develop penile erections. When people wake up during REM sleep, they often describe bizarre and illogical tales known as dreams. By morning, people spend nearly all their sleep time in stages 1, 2, and REM. But what influences the quality and length of sleep? Since sleep and wakefulness are influenced by different neurotransmitter signals in the brain, foods and medicines that change the balance of these signals affect whether we feel alert or drowsy and how well we sleep. Caffeinated drinks such as coffee, drugs such as diet pills, and decongestants stimulate some parts of the brain and can cause insomnia or an inability to sleep. Many antidepressants suppress REM sleep. Heavy smokers often sleep very lightly and have reduced amounts of REM sleep. They also tend to wake up after 3 or 4 hours of sleep due to nicotine withdrawal. If we're awakened after sleeping more than a few minutes, we are usually unable to recall the last few minutes before we fell asleep. This sleep-related form of amnesia is the reason people often forgot telephone calls or conversations they have had in the middle of the night. It also explains why we often do not remember our alarms ringing in the morning if we go right back to sleep after turning them off. But hey, how much sleep do we actually need? Well, it depends on many factors, including age. Infants generally require about 16 hours a day, while teenagers need about 9 hours on average. For most adults, 7 to 8 hours a night appears to be the best amount of sleep, although some people may need as few as 5 hours or as many as 10 hours of sleep each day. For women in the first 3 months of pregnancy, they often need several more hours of sleep than usual. The older they get, the more they tend to sleep more lightly and for shorter time spans, although they generally need about the same amount of sleep as they needed in early adulthood. About half of all people over 65 have frequent sleeping problems such as insomnia. Deep sleep stages in many elderly people often become very short or stop completely. This change may be a normal part of aging, or it may be a result from medical problems that are common in elderly people and from the medications or other treatments for those problems. The amount of sleep a person needs also increases if he or she has been deprived of sleep in previous days. Getting too little sleep creates a sleep debt, which is much like being overdrawn at a bank. Eventually, your body will demand that the debt be repaid. But what will happen if you don't have enough sleep? Sleep deprivation. That is what will happen to you. Sleep deprivation is defined as not obtaining adequate total sleep. Insufficient sleep adversely affects how the body functions. Experts say that if you feel drowsy during the day, even during boring activities, you haven't had enough sleep. If you routinely fall asleep within 5 minutes of lying down, you probably have severe sleep deprivation, possibly even a sleep disorder. Microsleeps, or very brief episodes of sleep in an otherwise awake person, are another mark of sleep deprivation. In many cases, people are not aware that they are experiencing microsleeps. Many studies make it clear that sleep deprivation is dangerous. Sleep-deprived people who are tested by using driving simulator or performing a hand-eye coordination task perform as badly or as worse than those who are intoxicated. Sleep deprivation also magnifies alcohol's effect on the body, so a fatigued person who drinks will become much more impaired than someone who is well rested. Since drowsiness is the brain's last step before falling asleep, driving while feeling drowsy can and often does lead to disaster. Caffeine and other stimulants cannot overcome the effects of severe sleep deprivation. If you have trouble keeping your eyes focused, if you can't stop yawning, if you can't remember driving the last few miles, you are probably too drowsy to drive safely. Although scientists are still trying to learn exactly why people need sleep, animal studies show that sleep is necessary for survival. For example, while rats normally live for 2 to 3 years, those deprived of REM sleep survive only for about 5 weeks on average, and rats deprived of all sleep stages live only about 3 weeks. Some studies suggest that sleep deprivation affects the immune system in a detrimental way. Another reason that we need sleep is because we need to keep the nervous system functioning. It helps us grow. Activity in parts of the brain that control emotions, decision-making processes, and social interaction is drastically reduced during deep sleep, suggesting that this type of sleep may help people maintain optimal emotional and social functioning while they are awake. A study in rats also showed that certain nerve signaling patterns which the rats generated during the day were repeated during deep sleep. This pattern repetition may help encode memories and improve learning. So, what happens when we sleep? We dream. We typically spend more than 2 hours each night dreaming. Scientists do not know much about how or why we dream. Only after 1953, when researchers first described REM in sleeping infants, did scientists begin to carefully study sleep and dreaming. They soon realized that the strange, illogical experiences that we call dreams almost always occur during REM sleep. While most mammals and birds show signs of REM sleep, reptiles and other cold-blooded animals do not. However, there are people who can't sleep, and this results in sleep deprivation that interferes with their work, driving, and social activities. These are called sleep disorders. Doctors have described more than 70 sleep disorders, most of which can be managed effectively once they are correctly diagnosed. Some of the most common sleep disorders include insomnia, sleep apnea, and narcolepsy. Almost everyone occasionally suffers from short-term insomnia. This problem can result from stress, jet lag, and other circadian rhythm problems, diet, or many other factors. Insomnia almost always affects job performance and well-being the next day. Sleep apnea is a disorder of interrupted breathing during sleep. It usually is associated with fat buildup or a loss of muscle tone that come with aging. These changes cause the windpipe to collapse during breathing when muscles relax during sleep. People with narcolepsy have frequent sleep attacks at various times of the day, even if they had a normal amount of nighttime sleep. This attack lasts from several seconds to more than 30 minutes. People with narcolepsy also may experience cataplexy, loss of muscle control during emotional situations, hallucinations, temporary paralysis when they awaken, and disrupted nighttime sleep. Sleep research is expanding and attracting more and more attention from scientists. Researchers now know that sleep is an active and dynamic state that greatly influences our waking hours, and they realize that we must understand sleep to fully understand the brain. Understanding the factors that affect sleep in health and disease also may lead to revolutionary new therapies for sleep disorders, jet lag, and the problems associated with shift work. And that is all for Science of Sleep today.